Hi, I'm Lady Teaspoon, and yes, I know that I look like a drag queen who has just started out and doesn't really know how to make her face do all that it's supposed to do, but this is what we have to deal with today. I wanted to go for a bold look and I'm not sure it really worked out. It doesn't look that bad on the camera, but it's not that good. Let me take my glasses off so you can enjoy like the whole experience. Actually, on days like these I am really happy that I have glasses because it kind of covers up the mess a little bit. But yeah, also my background is a little messy, but that is also the reality that we have to live with. So anyways, today I want to talk to you about savings. Because who wouldn't want to take financial advice from a Drag Race reject? So yeah, this is a new, very long-awaited, I'm sure, addition to Money Monday, a thing that I do when I feel like it, where I talk about money and financial stuff and all that. A little disclaimer at the beginning, I'm not like a financial advisor or a guru or anything like that. I do study business, so I know a little bit about something, but I don't want to be like, hey, I know everything and you should totally do 100% what I tell you to. So I'm kind of approaching the subject as kind of like an everyday woman, and I'm trying to keep it as universal and as simple as I can. So if you are someone who already kind of has things figured out and is good with money and stuff, I'm not sure if this is going to be super informative to you. But if you are someone who's kind of starting out with having a savings account, or kind of is looking for some simple general tips and stuff, or someone who's just looking for an honest discussion about money, then hey, this is probably a good video for you. So in order to keep things honest, I of course have to talk about my background. So I come from an upper middle class family, and so I have never really struggled with not having money. From a very young age I was given the opportunity to kind of handle money and practice handling money and figuring out what to do, and from a very young age I have had some savings. I have also been very lucky that my parents have supported me a lot, and now I actually have like a proper job and a steady income, so I don't have to worry about money as much as a lot of other people. So I'm of course going to look at things from that perspective and through a very privileged lens. When it comes to savings, I think the most important, but also probably like the most difficult thing, is to let go of the shame. A lot of times people read like these financial articles and stuff where they say like, oh, you have to save like 20% of your income, and that is not possible for a lot of people, and there's a lot of shame and taboo connected to money. People don't necessarily really want to talk about money. It's kind of embarrassing and hard, and especially when you don't have money, your life revolves around it. You're constantly counting like, how much noodles can I buy with what I have? Do I have enough money for a rent? Like it's really like it takes control of your life. Like when people ask, do you want to go to the movies? It's not just going to the movies. You need to count like, okay, how much is the ticket? Do we get popcorn? Do I have the money to do everything else if I go to the movies? It complicates things. So when it comes to savings, you really need to figure out what is the best plan for you. If you have a steady income, great. Definitely start a savings account if you don't already have one, and start saving as much as you can. But if you're someone who doesn't have a steady income, maybe doesn't really have an income almost at all, then that's not really an option for you. My tip is that start with something small, like really think tiny. Like it can even be like, hey, I'm going to save enough so that after a month I will have enough money for 1 carton of milk. It can be even smaller than that. If you can go bigger, that's great. And like start thinking like, hey, maybe I'll save like 5 euros a month, 10 euros, 20 euros, whatever you're comfortable with. The most important thing is that you start saving as soon as you can, because having some savings and having like an emergency fund is crucial if everything goes south. And if something happens and you're not able to put money into your savings, don't feel ashamed of it, because a lot of times people kind of start these things and then they hit a bump in the road and then they are like, okay, like maybe this is not for me, and they quit. And I'm definitely guilty of that. Try to let go of that. Like, hey, things didn't work out, that's okay, you can try again. The long-term goal is to build an emergency fund, which might be something like 6 months of your expenses. But that's like a long-term goal. You are not gonna get there in a week or a month or a year. It might take a really long time. So definitely that's a long term. You don't have to feel bad if you don't get there in like even 5 or 10 years. It's okay. Like the most important thing is to start with something small and build up from that. Another tip is to have the money in different places. This can mean like having separate savings account, but it can also mean having your money physically in different places. For example, when I was younger, I used to use cash a lot more than my debit card. So I usually had like an envelope which had like some money in it, and sometimes like if my grandparents gave me money for birthday or something, I will put that money in the envelope. So that way I had some money somewhere, but I also had money in my wallet and possibly some money in my like account. And that was kind of like I had money in different places, so I wasn't really spending all that money at the same time. Also, having cash can sometimes be a better option. If you're someone who kinda struggles with figuring out how much money you're actually spending, it can be useful to have cash, because then you can actually like really see like, okay, I had 20 euros, now I only have 2, like what happened? And it can be easier to track your expenses. Again, you need to figure out what works for you. For some people, it's better to use cash, and some people have apps that track their expenses, so they can easily see like, hey, where is my money going? With savings account, I definitely recommend having multiple accounts for short-term things and long-term things. For example, you can have a savings account that's for like a holiday that's coming up, and then you can have another one that's for something long-term, like saving for an apartment. And you can also have like something super short term, like, hey, I'm going to put money here so that by the end of the week I can go grocery shopping. If you can, a good way to manage your expenses is to plan ahead and make a budget. But depending on situation, that might be difficult. I read a Tumblr post about how actually people with lower income a lot of times end up paying more for basic things like toilet paper and food, because they don't have the luxury of planning ahead. Because when you don't have money, you kinda buy things when you absolutely need them. So you use clothes until they break. So when there's like a really good sale, you necessarily don't have the money to buy those things then, and then you end up paying more because you couldn't buy them when they were cheaper. So with that in mind, I do really recommend planning ahead as much as you can. And if you can, budgeting is a very good way to manage your savings and manage your expenses. I'm someone who's really bad at making a budget. I have tried it, but it just doesn't really work for me. I'm really bad at it. But if you are someone who maybe likes using the Excel a lot, or you like using apps where you can track your expenses, making a budget might actually be a really good idea. When you have a budget, it can be easier to kind of factor in possible changes because you have like a very tangible game plan where you can see like, okay, what am I spending, how much savings do I have, how much money do I have at the moment, and what things I need to buy in the future. I have mentioned emergency fund a few times in this video. And like I said, the long-term goal is to have something like 6 months of your expenses saved up. So if something goes horribly wrong, like you get laid off from work, or you lose your house, or you get ill, you have some money saved up. But again, if you are just now starting to save, you're not going to get there right away. So it's important to start building your emergency fund early. And again, it can be something small in the beginning. If you can, I do recommend also talking to like a financial advisor or your bank. Of course, I do recommend taking all advice with a grain of salt, especially if you're talking to like a business, because sometimes they might just be after your money. But usually you can just talk about things without making any big decisions on the spot, and you definitely don't have to sign anything before reading everything and thinking about it. So if someone is really pushing you to be like, hey, you need to do this, like take a step back. You don't have to say yes to anything. Of course, this differs from country to country, but at least in Finland you can usually book an appointment with your bank for completely free. And you don't need to make any big decisions, you can just go in there and talk about things and ask for tips. So a lot of banks have different accounts which have different interest rate and different benefits. So your bank can help you figure out what is the best option for you. Like they can look at your savings and be like, hey, you're saving about this amount a month. So instead of this account that you're using, you might want to think about this other account which has more benefits that will suit you better. I understand that some people kind of feel pressure that they need to know about things when they go to a bank. And you know, it can be a little nerve-wracking when the person asks you like, hey, how much you're saving or what your goal is or something, and you're just like, I'm not sure. But that's completely fine. Like when I went to a bank meeting once, I had no idea what I was doing. I was like, I've been saving and I kind of have a goal in mind, but I'm not sure, and I'm not sure if it's realistic. Like I don't know, tell me. And it was completely fine. Like they were like, hey, okay, like this is what I would recommend you to do, but it's completely up to you. And there were some things that I said yes to, and there were some things that I said no to. So you don't need to be an expert in order to talk with your bank. And if you want, you can definitely take someone with you. Like I know it can be a little embarrassing to have your parent there, but they can be a huge help. Like I usually have my dad with me when I talk to the bank because he's better at these things and he has lived longer, so he has more experience. A lot of banks also, again, different in each country, but a lot of banks offer different types of communicating. So if you don't want to meet people face to face, you can just call, or if you do prefer talking face to face, you can book an appointment. Or some banks even have like chat options, so you can just write to them. There's a lot of options out there, so don't feel pressured that you need to be like a certain way or communicate in a certain way. You can definitely pick an option that works for you. While we are on the topic of banks and savings account, if you are someone who has trouble with kind of spending a little more than you should, it might be a good idea to have your money somewhere where you can't really get it. For example, you can have a savings account that you can't get money from, and you would like need to book an appointment with your bank and close the account in order to get your money. Or if you're someone who prefers to have cash and like physical money, maybe like get a box, put your money there, and get a lock for the box. I know it sounds super silly, but sometimes having your money in a difficult place can really help. Like, I have heard of people who have a problem with kind of using their credit card too much. So they get like a wallet that is not super comfortable to use, and they put their credit card in like a place in the wallet that is hard to get to, and it's kind of tight, so you need to really pull your card out and stuff. So if they want to buy something with the credit card, it kind of gives them some time to think and gives them a pause, because it takes a long time to get their card out, and sometimes that kind of helps. So by the point that they get their card out, they have decided that, hey, I don't need this thing anymore. I'm definitely someone who has problems with buying things that I don't necessarily need because they are like pretty and nice, and I really like this lipstick and it looks nice on me. I don't care that I'm gonna wear it like once a month. It's pretty and it has shimmer in it, and that's not really a good way to spend your money. And slowly those things add up. Like, a really cheap mascara is not gonna hurt your bank account, but when you buy like 5 of them, it kind of starts to show. So you might want to also look at stuff that you already have and kind of figure out what you actually need and what you don't need, and is there something that you're buying but not using. Are you someone who buys a lot of like these unusually colored lipsticks? Again, guilty of that. I have like blue lipsticks that I have worn maybe once. And so yeah, figure out like what you're spending your money on, and is it really worth it? Sometimes it might be. Sometimes makeup can be therapeutic to someone and be really good for their mental health. I also really encourage people to have honest and open discussions about money. I know it's kind of hard, but when you start talking about things, usually people will join in, and you can learn so much from other people. Talking about money can help you figure out the best places to shop. It can give you tips on savings. It can help you figure out if your income is not what it's supposed to be. Recommend talking with your co-workers about, hey, like, how much money are you earning? What is your salary? It can be definitely super awkward and uncomfortable, because again, people don't really like talking about money. But if you can kind of work through that and open up an honest discussion, you can figure out like, hey, are your salaries equal? Of course, when you're talking about getting a raise, you shouldn't use other people as like the only reason, like, hey, I'm earning less than this person, so I should get more. But it can be kind of like a starting point. Like, you can figure out like, hey, are they doing something more than me, and what I should do in order to get there. And you can definitely use it as a starting point when talking to your employer. I might actually do a video about how to ask for a raise properly. Money is often talked about like it's this huge difficult thing, and only a few people know how to really work with money, and it doesn't have to be like that. It can be something relatively small and simple, and you don't have to know everything about the stock market, okay? You don't have to start reading like financial magazines Like I have stressed like a couple of times in this video, it's really important to try to take the shame out of money and not to treat as like this weird thing that controls our life a lot but we don't talk about. It's so important to be open and honest and have discussions about money. When it comes to money and saving, the most important thing is to figure out what works for you. Not anyone else, not your mother, not your friend, not your partner, for you. Of course, if you're living with someone or you have a child or something like that, of course other people are going to affect your decisions. But the most important thing is to figure out like what is your plan, what are your goals, and how you are going to get there. What are the best options for you? It's important to be as consistent as you can so you have a steady stream of savings coming in. And it's important to start as early as you can. If shit doesn't work out, make a new plan, try again. If you make money like this very impersonal thing, like it doesn't really involve you, then why would you care about it? But if you make money more like a personal thing, like hey, I'm doing this for my well-being and my goals, and I'm really thinking about what makes my life better, then that kind of affects the way that you look at money and you look at savings. You're not just saving because it's something that you're supposed to do. You're saving because it's the right decision for you. So that's it for this video. I hope that some of the tips and advice that I gave was useful. If you have any questions, comments, whatever, please leave them down below and I will see you in the next video. Bye! Should I just like take one picture of me like fanning myself like yep. But I don't know, I think that might be fun, but it would send maybe like the wrong message. I always want to do this. Yeah. And now I have to clean that up.